We have reached that time, and our conversations with Steve Kerr, the coach of the Dubs, sponsored by Xfinity. The Xfinity 10G network is made for streaming live sports, which means it's the network you can rely on in the biggest moments. The Xfinity 10G network, the best way to stream live sports, and presented by Great Clips. In sports, success is about team effort, and the same is true for your hair. Great Clips, it's going to be great, and we feel the same way about the conversation we're about to have with the head coach. Hey, Steve, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. We'd like to start off right away by asking how Steph Curry looked in practice today and what's the plan there?
Yeah, he's feeling a lot better, and he went through all of practice. And plan is just to see how he feels in the morning. But I think there's a decent chance he'll play tomorrow.
While we're in the injury space, any update you can give us on GP2 and just how he came out of last night's game?
Yeah, he rolled his ankle pretty badly coming down on Chet Holmgren's foot, and so he was in a boot today. He had an MRI. It wasn't anything that looked terrible on the imaging, but he's definitely going to miss at least tomorrow, and then kind of day to day from there.
Steve Kerr with us here on Willard and Dibs 95.7 The Game. Coach, look, no getting around it. Got a little losing streak going on here. There's some obvious reasons for it, and then I'm sure some not so obvious. How would you sort of describe the general sense of how you're feeling about everything right now?
Well, I've been around long enough to know that things are never as bad as they seem, and they're never as good as they seem, So you just have to try to keep some perspective. We got off to a really good start, and now we've hit a little wall. We've had some tough matchups. We've had some absences, some suspensions, and lost some of our momentum. So we just got to bounce back, and we'll play better, and we'll find a groove. I like our roster. I like our guys. It's just one of those stretches in the season where shots aren't going in and we're not quite finding our rhythm.
One of the positives from last night was Jonathan Kuminga and a nice performance, and he mentioned in the postgame how he had some conversations with some people. Were you one of the people who spoke to JK, and what did you think of the response from Jonathan Kuminga in terms of his effort last night?
I am one of the people he spoke with, as a matter of fact.
Nice. I got that one correct. I had guessed that you were one of the people. Score one for the Dibber, Steve.
That is my job, after all. But
nice, yeah.
He's JK's a great young guy, and being a young player in the NBA is not easy. Actually, being a player, period, in the NBA is not easy. There's pressure and stress on all these guys, and there's a lot to learn as a young guy, and there's going to be some ups and downs. And the biggest thing for JK is to plow through the adversity. The adversity hits everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. You look at our team. Steph and Wiggs are, or Klay and Wiggs are kind of going through it right now. It's been a bit of a struggle. They've got their stuff they've got to fight through, and JK, same thing, young guy trying to find his place, trying to be consistent. And the biggest thing in this league is keeping your energy and your spirit up and keep working, through the down times. And I think it's more, it's a difficult thing to learn. It's, easier said than done. So I think that was the nature of the message to JK over the last couple of days. He responded really well and played well last night.
Yeah, it was a good game for him, Coach. The whole thing is real interesting to me, especially when you go back to what happened in the playoffs with him last year, where it was widely sort of evident that he was not kind of happy with the role. I listened to what he said last night, saying that he needed to have a lot of people talk to him to check him. And I sort of came out with the perception that there have been conversations with him over maybe even the last couple of years just about general effort. Is that a fair perception?
I think his effort is fine. It's sometimes he loses his energy and his body language goes bad, and so it may look like effort, but I think it's just more he gets down on things, and he just has to understand that stuff matters. Body language matters, energy, spirit, taking joy in others' success. All of that stuff goes into being part of a winning team. And the hard thing when you're one of 15 guys on a team, things aren't always going to go your way. It's one of my favorite qualities of Steph Curry. He takes more joy in others' success when he's on the bench and somebody gets hot. You see Steph's, antics on the bench. That goes so far to helping a team win. And, I get it. It's easier to do when you're Steph Curry and you're going to get your, 30 points every night. But it's real. It's authentic. And young players have to understand that too. They all have to be part of the group and take joy in the group's success and bring life and energy regardless of the circumstances. And when the team does that, when all the guys in the team do that, it's just much easier to win.
Yeah, the phrase "wallflowers" and powders was ringing in my head as you were giving that answer. But I'm not saying that you were indicating that about Jonathan Kuminga. But I think that his performance last night would definitely not be put underneath that category. A question that I have is about Andrew Wiggins and where his energy can come from in terms of, returning Andrew to being the player that he was a couple of seasons ago.
I think Wiggs is really trying. He's last night was good. He got to the rim multiple times, didn't settle, for the fadeaway jumper, 15-footers. He kept turning and getting to the rim and gave himself some easy buckets, and that was important. We need him to be aggressive, and as long as he keeps doing that, I'm confident that his shot will follow. He's got a long track record of being a good three-point shooter. This is a spot here over 12 games where he hasn't shot the three well. So I lean into the prior 7 or 8 years. I think that's a much better indicator of what kind of shooter Wiggs really is.
Coach Kerr with us here on Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Steve, you brought up the suspension for Draymond, and I found it very interesting, sort of the tone that you took to the podium last night with regard to what you said about it. There's no doubting the organization has had Draymond's back for years. This sounded a little bit more firm from you. Why sort of the change in tone? Well,
I think watching the tape, it was bad, and there's no getting around that. And as I said yesterday, I didn't mind Draymond getting Rudy off of Klay because that was appropriate, but he just needed to let go immediately. And once Rudy was off of Klay, Dre needed to let go. Instead, he basically got him in a headlock, and it was a bad look for Draymond, bad look for us, bad look for the league, and particularly coming on the heels of the ejection 2 nights earlier. And Draymond knows we need him. We're in a little bit of a rut here. We got to have everybody contributing, and so now another ejection, now a suspension, and this hurts the team, and so all of that stuff is real, and Draymond understands that and knows that, and he's going to try to be better.
I'll tell you what, Coach, I'm sure you know this. I think the whole fan base was nodding their head in agreement when you said yesterday, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's got to find a way to be him, but not have it end up like this. And when I heard you say that, I immediately thought, okay, we've all sort of believed through the years Draymond is this one person. Like, he can't not be Draymond. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, those are things that are being worked on behind the scenes. I'm not going to go into detail on that stuff because that's private. But he's working on it. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, and it's a fine line because we all want Draymond to be aggressive and engaged and passionate, and yet it is a fine line in terms of when he steps over it. Usually things happen like they did the other night. So with Draymond out now for the time being, what do you do to try to replace him? We know he's one of one in terms of his unique abilities, but how do you try to find somebody to come in there and replace his defense and his rebounding particularly?
Well, I like this roster. We have a deep roster, and we have a lot of guys who can play. And I think the trick is really kind of sorting through the roster and figuring out, which combinations work the best, and who's got to play with whom and all that. So I think right now it's early in the season. Way too soon to be too worried about anything. It's more of an opportunity. So JK will get that opportunity to start, and maybe Trace will get some minutes with Draymond out. And we'll look at some of these different combinations. So I look at it as an opportunity for our young guys to step forward.
Steve, a rough game for Klay Thompson last night for sure. And I know you mentioned the defense that OKC was throwing at him. Over the offseason, there was so much talk from Klay even about the frustrations that he was feeling. And to my eye, he still sort of looks to be feeling that frustration. What's your assessment of his play and sort of his emotional state?
He's just pressing. He's just taking tough shots because he's trying to get himself going. If you look at the history of Klay's career, he usually gets off to slow starts. I mean, the numbers would back that up. I guess he's played 12, 13 years now. I would be willing to bet that 7 or 8 of those years, he got off to a slow start the first month, first 10, 15 games. So the other thing that's happened is in all of those years is he's recovered and played really well. So I think I have no doubt that he'll get out of it, but he is pressing and he's taking tough shots. And I think he just needs to embrace that the attention that he draws is enough to help our team score. If he's got 2 guys on him like he did last night and he just moves the ball and we do our jobs, then we're going to end up with a good shot. And Klay has to recognize that and just accept it, especially until Steph is back, because that's how teams are going to treat him. It's the ultimate respect.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his splits, Coach, and his October numbers for his career are ghastly as they relate to the rest of his shooting percentages from November through April. So your suspicions have been confirmed. You can go ahead and run with that, courtesy of your guy, the Dibber, and Basketball Reference as well. Steve, how do you adjust to teams in the way they're now defending you? Because it's not only running Klay off the line. It feels like they're obviously trying to run Steph off the three-point line as well. Do you have to try to tweak the offensive approach a little bit, knowing that teams are now coming at you from behind the three-point arc?
Well, that's not really that new. I mean, everybody's been trying to do that for years. I remember Greg Popovich used to put defenders on the top side of Steph and Klay when they had the ball 30 feet from the hoop. He would just literally force them to drive underneath the three-point line. So it's not anything new. I think it's more a case of us needing to find a little better rhythm, maybe, even streamline our play calls and just run a handful of things and execute them better. And if we do that, then we'll start knocking down shots. We're getting shots that we can make for sure, that we should make. But I think as a staff, we've got to do a little better job of helping the players find a good rhythm. And with that rhythm, the shot should get a little bit easier.
Steve Kerr, coach of the Dubs, obviously, here on Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Coach, we kind of put it out to our audience throughout the day. What would you like to ask Coach Kerr? And we got this one a whole lot. Why not more minutes for Moses? So why not more minutes for Moses Moody?
Well, it's just a math equation. We've got a lot of guys who can play, and so if Moses is going to play, it's got to be in front of the list, and the list includes Wiggs, Gary Payton, Klay, Kuminga. So and even Draymond, and when Draymond is out there, so we've got a ton of guys who can play, we're doing some things as a team to try to get certain actions going, certain players going. And Moses is doing a really nice job. He's playing well, and he's going to continue to get more minutes. But it's a lot of guys. So if you want to play one guy more, you got to sit another guy, and that's there's kind of a domino effect there.
And one of those guys is the new guy, Brandon Podziemski, who seems to have vaulted himself up the rotation. How enthused are you by his recent spate of play, and especially after you praised him pre-game, and then he went out and balled out? That has to make you feel quietly a little bit good.
Well, we just, know what we see every day in practice. And so he's looked great since the start of training camp. And Brandon's got a really good feel. He's a different player terms of he's more of a kind of a 1-2. He's a guard who creates plays and but also connects the game. The ball really moves when he's out there. And he's constantly cutting into spots and forcing the defense to react. So Brandon's a young player who has great feel and makes everybody better. So he's definitely going to see minutes.
I wonder if you'd expand on that. When Steph and Draymond and everybody are back, what do you see as his role going forward?
He's got to play. He's got to play. The game gets easier for everybody else when he's out there. And so it's going to be tough. I mean, we've got, like I said, I think we've got 12 guys who legitimately can be in the rotation. And when everybody's healthy, that means there's going to be some people who are sitting, and it's not an easy decision as a coaching staff. And where we are right now, we have a lot of guys who are capable and for sure can be in that rotation, but we also need to find the combinations that are going to help us win, because right now we're just sort of experimenting and not gaining much traction, and we got to go get a couple of wins, and guys really have to emerge and help us win, and those are the guys who will play.
Yeah, you've never suffered 6 consecutive losses other than that 15-50 season that we all have discarded from our memory banks. So hoping to get a win to avoid that ignominy. You were talking about combinations. How do you like Chris Paul with that second unit? I know it's been a little different with Steph out and now Draymond out, but is Chris finding comfort being a part of that second group?
Yeah, he's really he's such a dynamic point guard, does so many things that regardless of the combination, he's going to help the group. But if you're a pick and roll player, you want spacing, you want to have a lob threat, you want to have another playmaker on the floor. I mean, it's just the game becomes easier the more we can space the floor with Chris out there. So, we'd like to surround him with shooting and a dive man and that make the game as easy as possible for him, for sure.
Hey, Coach, how was it introducing President Biden at the APEC conference?
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. It was really cool. The Warriors notified me a couple weeks ago that I'd been invited to do this, and obviously a no-brainer, and really amazing to meet the president again after our visit there last year, to the White House. So we're old pals now.
Did you channel your inner Franco Finn and hype it up, or did you play it pretty straight?
Yeah, no hype. Just trying to keep it dignified.
How did that feel? Just to say what you just said, to meet President Biden again.
I know.
Again,
it's a flex.
Again,
yeah.
That was pretty. That's right.
Hey, how does that process work? You said the Warriors notified you. I mean, does this come by carrier pigeon? I don't even know how something White House related comes together. How'd this all work?
I don't know. Raymond Ritter came to me and said, that I was going to be part of a video along with Steph, welcoming the APEC crowd to San Francisco. So we did the video, and then a few days before the event, Raymond told me that I was going to be introducing the president. So that's, I guess Raymond is the guy. He's the man.
I mean, pretty well connected.
They don't have Steve Kerr's number. They have Raymond Ritter's number in D.C.
All right.
That's man. It's good to know in terms of the real power brokers here in San Francisco. With apologies to Joe and Peter, it all goes through Raymond. Steve, how tough is it for you having suffered through this losing streak? And I know you've been around the association for decades, and so you've been through tough stuff before. What's your process in terms of trying to make this right? Are you a stay up all night and grind over it? Are you able to leave it behind? What do you do personally to try to do all you can to shake off this 5-game skid?
It really is about perspective. You know, you can't get too worried when you go through a period like this. You try to maintain perspective and have that reflected in your approach each day. So we're still enjoying practice. We're still, having a lot of humor and music and upbeat. We're coming in and going to work every day, and the players are enjoying the process, and the coaches are, and we're confident that things will turn. And that's the only way to do it. As soon as you go dour and you go dark and south, it's players feel that, and then the gloom, affects the performance. And you just got to stay upbeat and positive and keep working.
Coach, I do have one more to ask you, because we sat here last week and we talked about what is like a mini playoff feel when you play Minnesota back-to-back, and if there were any concerns there. And then in the second game, 1 minute into the game, there was an incident. So any concerns tomorrow night?
No, I don't. I think we'll be fine. I think that was an isolated incident, but yeah, I mean, we're definitely coming out hard tomorrow. We need a win. Our fans will feel that, and we'll bounce back. But I'm not worried about anything like that happening.
Yeah, but just in case, fans should be in their seats right at tip-off, right?
No question.
Just in case. Thank you, Coach.
Coach, great to have you as always. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, there it is. Coach Kerr predicting that Brandon Pajemski and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will box halfway through the first quarter. You heard it here first on 95.7 The Game.